Although I rise to speak in these dying moments of this session of this Parliament, long session, 3-week session, on the Local Electoral Amendment Bill number 2, I do say in relation to standing number 48, we can oblige if you prefer. But however, Mr Speaker, as will have been apparent from our contributions in earlier debates on this bill, we do support it. It is long overdue, and indeed, without wanting to get into a nah, we did it first argument, I do want to say we got there first. We had a draft members' bill ready in place to go, and with the great prescience of mind that members on this side of the House so frequently show, before it was drawn from the ballot, the issue about John Banks and the Auckland mayoral race then erupted in full colour across the political landscape, and everybody knew about why it was necessary to have reform of our local electoral laws. And I think, sir, it is important, even in this third reading stage, just in case some people haven't heard the earlier debates and they've only tuned in just recently or this afternoon, to put on record why this legislation, why this bill and why the changes in it have become so necessary. Because, sir, the reality is that the provisions governing local body elections had come adrift from the rules governing general elections. There was an inconsistency that could not be explained, and then we saw the conduct that we saw in the 2010 Auckland mayoral election. And that conduct included at least one candidate who, having received donations donations about which we now have clear evidence, that candidate played an active role in soliciting and receiving, and to all intents and purposes knew the origins of, but when it came time to make his election return, feigned no knowledge of the origins of those donations. And they were significant donations. And it exposed to all who could see it the gaps and the problems and the loopholes in the law as it then stood. That donations that were nominally anonymous were in reality not anonymous at all. That the recipient of them, the candidate in whose benefit or for whose benefit they were made, could avoid declaring them as contributions made by a known donor, and could have them declared as anonymous donations. That was a very distasteful part of the history of local government in this country. It'll go down in the annals of local government history as a poor time, as a black day, but it will be remedied by the provisions in this bill. And as the Minister who took the floor just now has adumbrated in his account of the bill, in addition to putting limits and caps on donations, we will now tighten up, or this bill will now tighten up the requirements for declaring expenses and donations to local government campaigns. And that is long overdue. We don't want to live in a country where public office, whether it's at the local government level or at the central government level, can be purchased and can be won by those who have the benefit or the privilege of being in receipt of the highest amount of donations, because they are the person who happens to routinely rub shoulders with the wealthy and the rich and the privileged and the elite of this country. That is not the New Zealand that we believe in. And I don't believe there is a member in this House who would want our systems of democracy to be disgraced in that sort of way. So this bill comes in the nick of time for the forthcoming local government elections. As the Minister said, as Mr Tremaine said in his contribution, the provisions of this bill will take effect for the forthcoming elections. That will give some comfort to people as we sit around and wait for the onslaught of the next local government elections. We wait for the door knocking, we wait for the material to come through our letterboxes, but most importantly we wait for those ballot papers to come in, and we have our period of 2 weeks to consider and ponder and cast our election, and we will be able to do that this year, sir, safe in the knowledge that no candidate taking part in this year's local government elections will have acted or will be allowed to get away with acting in an untoward and an improper way, that they will have been subject to spending limits and to donation limits, and that the donations received by them will be properly disclosed, that any potential for misleading or rorting it around anonymous donations is now much diminished, and that will be good. People will have a greater sense of confidence in the elections that will take place this year. So, sir, we welcome the changes. It has taken time. It's a pity that we are running right up against the timetable needed to administer the next local body elections. They are only a matter of months away, and so we acknowledge the work that our electoral officials do, even at the local government level. They will be hard-pressed to meet the timetable, but as the Minister says, we are confident, we can be confident that they will meet it. That will be good for people, that will be good for confidence in our electoral systems, and that will be just one small step, the first step on what will be a journey to restore genuine public confidence in our local body election system. So, sir, on that basis, and at this time, I say we will support the bill and look forward to its full implementation.
Scott Simpson.
Mr. Speaker, it's a great pleasure in my capacity as Chairman of the Justice